What is going on, everybody? It is Monday, July the 26th, and that means it's time for my news radar. If somehow this is your first time watching one of my videos, welcome. If you enjoyed today's video, please consider hitting the subscribe button or maybe liking. Oh boy, guys, we have a big one this morning. So I get up, I check Twitter after my weekend away from social media, and what am I greeted by? But the biggest piece of news, the most exciting piece of news I've seen in a long time. This is a tweet from Windows Central. Microsoft's Surface Duo 2 will feature a triple camera lens setup as per newly leaked images. Look at it. There's so much to talk about here. But strangely enough, this is not super new. This actually was posted in a YouTube video about a month ago, June the 21st. And it got like no traction. Nobody talked about this thing. And in fact, pretty much all the comments are people saying negative things about it or that they don't think that it's real. So let's address the is it real thing first. Let's go to the Windows Central article. And I know we're going to dig into all this stuff. But in the Windows Central article written by Zach Bowden, he says right off the bat, Windows Central can confirm these photos in question are legitimate. They are real. Now that we got that out of the way, let's also address the fact that about a month ago, someone tagged me in this video. I never got it. I could have talked about this a long time ago. I might have thought it was fake, though. I don't know. Who knows what I would have said back then? But I'm going to talk about it now. Ladies and gentlemen, this is what Surface Duo 2 is going to look like. And like I've been saying for a while, from the exterior, other than that camera bump, right? You take your hand and cover up that camera bump, and it looks pretty much like the Surface Duo. The hinge is about the same. Everything looks about the same. The dimensions are essentially the same. But let's talk about this. You're going to get a standard, a telephoto, and an ultra wide. We don't have word yet on the sensor size, how much the telephoto zooms in, all of these sorts of things. However, it's a really big camera bump. I know Surface Duo is really thin, so any camera bump is going to look huge. But as you'll see in some later pictures, the camera bump does look absolutely enormous. So that might indicate a large sensor size, which might indicate a decent camera performance. We also have an LED flash here. This could be a laser autofocus of some kind as well. So they seem like they've really went all in on the camera here, and they've made some huge concessions in order to do this. And the biggest concession they've made, obviously, is just to the form factor. It's not going to fold flat in phone mode anymore. It can't. It won't sit flat on a table anymore. It can't. I don't know what they're going to do to make that better. Some of you guys are going to absolutely hate those facts. Let's jump to the next image. You also have a Surface Duo in black. And I am so freaking excited for another color. This black one looks absolutely awesome. And there's a few more things to break down here. First off, you can really see how big this camera bump is. And it's huge. It's like Z Fold style massive. You're also going to notice no fingerprint sensor, which means it's probably integrated into the power button. Now you can see the screen here, but since it's turned off, you can't tell where those bezels begin and where they end. I'm telling you that the bezels are going to be smaller, but I can't show you anything here because you just can't see it. You can see from this image that there is no giant divot here to fold that camera bump into. So I talked about this in an older video where a prototype had a little bump and a little divot, which would allow it to still fold flat. Well, you may be asking yourself, why didn't they do that? Well, because look how big this camera bump is. That would be an enormous chunk taken out of the back of the device. A small divot would have been weird. This would have been super weird and would have taken up a lot of internal space in this thing. And we know that internal space is going to be useful because it is going to be packing the Snapdragon 888, which doesn't take up a ton of space, but tack on things like NFC. And look, space is at a premium here. So that just wasn't a viable option. And again, you can see no separate fingerprint sensor. It's all just flat and hopefully made out of a much, much stronger material. You can also see that it is chamfered. It actually curves up onto that edge a little bit instead of being sharp and rough to the hand. So these are all good improvements. And the last image shows a couple of more interesting details. First off, the USB-C port will be center mounted, which means that your Duo dock won't work anymore. You're gonna have to get a new Duo dock, unfortunately, but there it is. I can't really tell much in terms of how robust that is. It still looks extremely thin on the sides. It actually looks a little bit weird from this image. So hopefully they've learned their lesson on the USB-C port cracking, and this is made of something much, much stronger. I don't know. There's a couple of little dots going there, and I don't know what's going on there either. But look at the camera bump. Do you see what I see? It's not flat. It's actually angled, which means book mode, when it folds back, will actually... if it was just flat, the side panel here would make contact against an edge, and then there'd be a gap, which meant if you pushed on it, could flex the Duo, and it could cause damage. They've actually made it. The camera bump is actually slanted to match the angle it will meet the other side at, which is good, but it makes it even worse on a table, I would bet. It's going to wobble even more now. So again, sacrifice is being made. Absolutely wild piece of news this morning. I'm excited. I know that a lot of you guys are going to be mixed feelings about this, but Surface Duo 2 is all in on cameras. Take that for what it's worth. So let's switch gears to the Z Fold world. One of the big changes coming to the Z Fold 3 is the fact that rather than having a standard hole punch selfie camera, they're going to an under display camera. We have some leaks, some information from Ice Universe here on Twitter, going over kind of his thoughts on the under display selfie camera. He says this, that basically it uses AI algorithms to assist, and the picture quality is not bad, although it's not as good as a normal selfie camera. It is the best under display camera. He then goes on to say that you're probably going to hope the S22 won't have it because it's just not as good as a normal camera. And of course that's the case, because an under display camera has to literally take a picture from underneath your display. It cuts out a ton of light. You're going to get, there's a lot of AI that has to go on there because it's taking picture through sort of a lattice of pixels. That has to all be adjusted for. I'm sure that's why the inner camera is going to a 16 megapixel to try and kind of counter some of that clarity loss, but it's just not going to be as good as a normal camera. So you have to ask yourself, does that selfie camera, does that hole punch really bother you enough to go to this solution? And then also consider that UDC has to cap the pixels per inch at 400. So, you're going to have a square there around that spot that isn't going to look quite as good as the rest of the screen. So, just like with the Duo 2, you're making sacrifices to do the thing that you want to do. So, maybe that's the way you want to go. Maybe you don't care about the hole punch and you're fine with the Z Fold 2. But sticking with the Z Fold 3, let's talk about this. This is a case that was leaked, which is going to show you that the S Pen not only is compatible, but it will give you a place to stow your S Pen. And I think this looks really quite good. And if you're a fan of the Note line of phones, I think you're going to be really happy with this case because it's going to give you a nice convenient place to hold your S Pen. And not only that, it actually covers the front display, so act like a folio to protect your front display in addition to holding on to that S Pen for you, which is a pretty interesting design. I think, again, if you're a fan of the Note series, having this large canvas with that S Pen support is going to be quite good. So this is something I actually predicted would happen a couple months back, and here it is. I was right, just like they did with the S21 Ultra or the S20 Ultra. I don't remember. Whichever S series phone had the S Pen support first. It was the last one, I think. Guys, that is all the news I have for you today. Thanks for stopping by and checking out this video. Stay tuned for the next News Radar every Monday and Friday. Thanks to my latest monthly Flat Earth contributor. Thank you so much for helping support this channel. It means a ton. You can do the same by a link in the description down below. Stay tuned for more Surface Duo 2 news, guys. It's happening. We're rolling. It's ramping up. Can't wait to talk about it even more. And until next time, stay nerdy, my friends.